ITA, for blaming my family after my dog died in my hands. Rocky came into my life 8 years ago when I was struggling to find my footing in the world. I had just moved out of my childhood home, started a new job in a city where I didn't know anyone, and was battling a deep sense of loneliness. He was a golden retriever puppy I found at a local shelter, the runt of the litter, with floppy ears and eyes full of curiosity. I knew the moment we locked eyes that we belonged together. Rocky was more than a pet. He was my lifeline. Through breakups, job losses, and long, lonely nights, he was always there. A constant source of joy and unconditional love. When I felt like I had no one else in the world, he reminded me I wasn't truly alone. He would nuzzle my hand when I cried, wag his tail every time I came home, and curl up by my side when I couldn't sleep. I'd tell him, "You're my best friend, Rocky," and he'd wag his tail as if he understood every word. My family, however, never quite understood our bond. My mom referred to him as just a dog, while my younger brother Matt liked to tease me for treating Rocky like a child. I'd learned to brush off their comments over the years, but deep down, their lack of empathy for how much Rocky meant to me always stung. Last month, my parents invited me to a family barbecue. It was meant to be a casual get-together. Burgers on the grill, beers on the patio, and my mom's famous potato salad. "Why don't you bring Rocky this time?" my mom suggested. "It'll be good for him to stretch his legs." I hesitated. Their backyard wasn't fenced, and I always worried about Rocky's safety. But my mom insisted, and eventually I gave in. "Okay," I said, "but only if everyone keeps an eye on him." The day started off well. Rocky was thrilled to be out in the open, sniffing every blade of grass and wagging his tail like crazy. My brother Matt, who had always been indifferent to Rocky, offered to play fetch with him. "He needs to burn off some energy," he said. I handed him Rocky's favorite ball, warning him to stay within the yard. "No streets," I added firmly. But less than 10 minutes later, I heard a sharp yelp. My heart dropped. I turned to see Rocky lying motionless by the curb, Matt frozen in place with the ball still in his hand. "What happened?" I screamed as I ran to Rocky. "I didn't think he'd run that far," Matt stammered, his face pale. When I reached Rocky, he was still alive but barely breathing. Blood stained his golden fur, and his eyes, which were always so full of life, were dull and unfocused. "Rocky, stay with me," I whispered, cradling him in my arms. "Please, you're going to be okay." I screamed for someone to call a vet, but my mom's voice cut through the chaos. "There's no time, honey. He's gone." "No, don't say that," I snapped, tears streaming down my face. Rocky's breathing grew shallower until finally he exhaled one last time. I felt the life leave his body, and my entire world shattered. I sat there in the middle of the street, sobbing uncontrollably and holding him close, unwilling to let him go. The drive home that night was unbearable. I refused to leave Rocky's side until my dad gently pried him from my arms and promised to take care of him. I barely slept, haunted by the memory of his last moments. Every corner of my apartment reminded me of him. His leash by the door, his favorite toy on the couch, the empty bed in the corner of my room. When I tried to talk to my family about how I was feeling, their responses only deepened my grief. My mom said, "It was an accident. You can't blame Matt." My sister Emily suggested I get another dog, as if Rocky were replaceable. And Matt? He avoided me altogether. A week later, my mom called and asked why I wasn't returning anyone's messages. "You're being dramatic," she said. "It's not like this was anyone's fault." I couldn't hold back anymore. "It was Matt's fault," I yelled. "I told him to keep Rocky away from the street, and he didn't listen. Rocky is dead because he didn't listen." "It was an accident," she repeated, her tone sharp. "You can't hold this against him forever." But I could, and I did, because to me it wasn't just an accident. It was carelessness, and it cost me the most important thing in my life. In the weeks that followed, I pulled away from my family entirely. I ignored their calls and skipped family dinners. My friends tried to comfort me, but most of them didn't understand the depth of my grief. He was just a dog, one friend said, and I never spoke to her again. I started seeing a therapist who told me it was normal to feel this way. Rocky was a part of your life for years, she said. Losing him is like losing a family member. Months later, my mom reached out again, this time with a heartfelt message. "We miss you," she wrote. "Please don't let this tragedy tear us apart." I thought about it for days. Part of me wanted to forgive them, to move on and repair our fractured relationship. But another part of me, the part still reeling from the loss of Rocky, wasn't ready. In the end, I wrote her back. "I need more time," I said. "I'm not ready to forgive, but I'm also not ready to let go of you completely." Healing is a slow process. I've started volunteering at an animal shelter in Rocky's honor, helping dogs find loving homes. I've even thought about adopting again, though no dog could ever replace him. As for my family, I've begun to rebuild those relationships, piece by piece. We've talked about what happened that day, and while I'm not sure I'll ever fully forgive Matt, I'm learning to let go of some of my anger. Rocky will always be a part of me. And though his loss broke my heart, his love continues to guide me every day. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for blaming my family after my dog died in my hands? Or was my anger justified? I'll never forget Rocky, and I'll always wonder if I could have done more to protect him. But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to heal.